Hey golfers, I'm Drew Mahowald of Second Swing Golf here in the tour van at Second Swing Minnetonka, and we got a fun one today for Live at Lunch. Thank you for joining. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you can participate in the live chat and give us your feedback, give us your suggestions on how we're doing today for the Live at Lunch. So Tyler Fitzel's with me today. Tyler is the master club fitter here. And today we got a fun, well, I kind of put Tyler to the task here of finding some of what he thinks are the best used fairway woods, and kind of funny enough too, they all ended up in a similar price range as well. So let's kind of run through, as people start to filter in here, let's start running through the four fairway woods that you picked, and then we're going to do some TrackMan testing.
We'll start with the M6, and I went with the M6 because going back a few years in Taylormade, we've got it bonded, right? But we also have a pretty classic shape. We've been talking about that V-steel type turf interaction on the bottom. I wanted to have something that's kind of been really a stable in the market in terms of its fairway woods, and TaylorMade's really done that for a long time. Also talking a little about that price range, is I want to go back a little bit. I didn't want to get something that's still kind of in that $200 to $300 range, because like we can do that, yes, but that's actually what we've been testing, as we've been testing a lot of products just over the course of this summer. And we've been seeing all of the newer products to that. So even kind of looking back and how something like that, which goes back a ways, holds up under time. We talk about like a Ping G410. The same scenario with it. We talk about a 917 by Titleist. And the reason I grabbed that too, because the Titleist fairway woods are great on the market. We have adjustability and all that. But one of the things that we have is a lot of people still have this in their bag. And so it's like, as we start looking at, this is also like the Rogue, the Callaway Rogue. It's about 3 or 4 models old now. When I start looking at fairway woods, it's like how often I would change up my fairway wood. For you, as an example, you don't change it up much. It's probably the fairway wood, call it the 3 wood, is the least changed item in your bag. It's like the club that probably stays there the longest, or possibly gets used the least. So if it's something that gets used the least, right, we're not necessarily going to be changing that up all the time, whereas we would maybe like a driver, or certainly like with wedges.
I mean, you see guys on tour, guys and gals using fairway woods for years and years and years, the same one, because A, they like it, and B, to your point, they don't use it a ton, so it doesn't, there's no issues with endurance, with it, durability, where the club is going to stay the high-performing club that it is. These guys hit the club. They go through probably multiple drivers every year because they're swinging so much. But I think with a 3 wood or a 5 wood, whatever it might be, they stick with that stuff. Generally
speaking, if we look at some what's in the bag, Tiger Woods is a good example. He's got older fairway woods in the bag. I know we've seen Justin Thomas with his fairway woods have been older models. We've seen quite a few different players where they're going to keep that model in there. It's maybe not the necessity to upgrade that, because they're not going to see a difference in performance necessarily until there's maybe something about technology. I think the ultimate in terms of fairway wood, as we go back in the last, say, 15 years, was Henrik Stenson. And he was playing that one particular, it was a Diablo Edge Tour by Callaway, and that was kind of something he'd have like a dozen of them.
It was like was it 2006 or 7 or something,
and when it would,
model,
if it would crack or if it would break years. Or he just kept going through those. That was one that just stayed in the bag until, even when he won his British Open, and that was something that was, I think, either still in the bag or had just been replaced, because it was just no longer viable compared to today's technology. So you see, from a performance perspective, you don't see the drastic changes as you would maybe in a driver, an iron, or a wedge. So one of the things I wanted to look at is, getting in here, and if you've got something that's 20 years old, get to something that's maybe even just 10 years old, you can do it effectively and cost savings.
Because right now, as of recording and going live here today, these fairway woods are all in that 150 range for like an average condition club.
Correct.
Now we have, I think the Rogue one, I think, is like a mint condition one. So this particular one is like up there a little bit, but nonetheless,
almost 200.
But
so still, it's under $200. And if you're looking at,
and that's that one in particular, that might be the newest of the group.
The cost-wise, most fairway woods are in that $300 range. So we're talking about clubs that are about half as much as the brand new, but only 3 or maybe even 4 generations out. So that's one of the reasons I kind of pick these in general.
Sure.
These are really sturdy, really stable, and probably going to be in. If you pick something like this up, you can improve your fairway game.
So, yeah, I'll do some swinging today. We've
Yeah.
got TrackMan. I'm going to let you pick which one you want me to start with here.
We'll start with the Taylormade, and it's just because
Okay.
I had it in the system first that way.
Okay.
But what I'm looking for here, in knowing your game, is you carry the ball somewhere in that about 260 range. If you can carry that fairway wood in that 250 to 260 range, get about 280, 290 out of it, that's about where for you anyway, your driver comes into play.
Yeah.
And so let's just see what happens. These are all 75 gram. They're all stiff shafts. They didn't necessarily have what I'd call maybe the perfect optimal fit for you, is getting something extra
Yeah.
stiff and heavy, but I got something that's got some weight to it. And let's just see what happens. Hit some shots, see how technology take us back in time, and see if we can
this is
look at the performance.
It takes me back with this M. This is the M series. I'm actually surprised at how deep the face is of this one, because I believe M6 out of M6 and M5, the M6 was kind of supposed to be on the more forgiving side a little bit, or more higher MOI.
Right.
And so it's a pretty deep face for that type of club, I feel like. But towards the toe a little bit. We're out there to the right.
Was this does this have twist face on it?
It does, I believe. This is, yes. This
Okay.
is, I want to say M3 and M4
Was twist face? Okay.
was the introduction
initial,
of that.
Yeah,
so I think we're talking late 2010s, like 2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Here's a good one.
Yeah, really nice. Good ball speed.
Yeah.
Carries 260. Well, that right there is exactly what we were talking about in terms of carry distance and total distance, because you get a fairway wood, which is 15 degrees like this, to get up there around that 280, 290 mark, and now you've got something off the tee that's really useful.
Yep.
All right, a couple more.
Launch it a little higher. Wow, that spins low. It felt really good. Just kind of maybe higher into the face a little bit, but
Could have been. 260 carry, 286 total. Again, is the sort of numbers we want for you.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna get the 300 mark today.
You could with this, and this is a little bit longer shaft. It was how this club was developed to begin with, so it's about 43 and a half inches.
Okay.
Whereas most fairway woods around 15 degrees are around 43.
271 carry is as far as I feel like I've seen with a 3-wood. That one was slightly towards the toe, so it might draw some, yeah.
That's okay.
That'll work though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how this feels, and I mean the look is very unique, right? Because I've got,
Yeah.
I'll try to give the angle for those looking at me, but you kind of have this gray stripe on the leading edge. I don't remember this sort of extra angle here at the toe back, when these were first out. I didn't realize, like now today, this leading edge is so much smoother, I feel like, with whether it's TaylorMade or any brand. They don't have a lot of this distraction piece, but like M1 had this like super big, thick stripe, and they've since then just waned it down, and now they don't have anything there.
Yeah, and one of the things that actually technology has done with them is they try to use that for optical illusions as well.
Yeah.
So if you go back to
Like as an alignment deal.
Yeah, so the draw type or the D type in those models, not this one, but there's a fairway as well. That angle you're talking about right there actually starts to change and makes the club look like it sits more open or closed.
Oh, then it actually does?
Yeah, so there'll be more or less angle, and they're trying to do that so that you don't try to manipulate the club open or closed.
Right.
So that the club's just set up in a good position for you that way. Yeah. it's a good one too. Well,
Might
that
hang
might
right,
hit your
but-
300. No, but that's
Ooh.
okay. I think that's good.
I hit that really, really good. But yeah, I just hung it
Yeah.
out to the right a little bit.
Yeah, you hung one that was just maybe
I think
really
that was like
out.
my
That was
first,
the first one.
my
and that
first
was,
swing. We don't
yeah, really kind of an outlier to that whole process to it as well. But the other thing I was going to mention is, like, we talk about technology, and so what's improved in technology? Well, when you start talking about it, especially in drivers, you're talking about weight savings and where you can put the weight. You've got carbon fiber. We've now mixed different metals with it, so that becomes lighter and stronger, and you can move more mass. In fairway woods, the technology isn't going to change quite as greatly, which is why one of the reasons is that you can hold on to a fairway wood probably 2, 3, 4 models deep, and the thing you might change in it is the shaft. The thing you might change is the loft. Like, if you're going to go to a new one, it's probably not going to be another 15 degree if you've seen lower launches, or if you were really high before and you got that down with something. And when we talk about technology, the engineers are actually they're trying to make the look of the club different to make the club perform different based on what you might do with it, opening it or closing it to kind of adjust its angle.
Yeah, I do notice it's interesting that for this is a used club, right? There's a wear mark on here. Somebody that's been, it's not a bad wear mark.
No,
but you
someone
got
hit that pretty darn good.
Slightly, yeah. It kind of matches me because I slightly will go air on the toe side.
Toe-y, yeah.
This is someone that's done the same thing, so that's kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is really good. I mean, average carry of 265 was a little farther than I anticipated even getting it all today.
Yeah.
290 on the total.
Yeah.
And I'm swinging pretty good at it. You know, I'm getting my club speeds up there in the high, you know, closer to 105, 110. So I'm swinging pretty good at it. But I like that those carry numbers are pretty consistent too. I mean, I had the farthest one I nuked there, I got some extra distance or some extra height, 274. But otherwise, I'm in the high 250s, 265, 270 if I really get one. So
That's really good. Even for smash factor, you know, 149 and 50, 48, 50.
yeah.
It's really good. Yeah. All right. Let's see what's next. So on the list, I've got Ping
All right.
G410.
G410 Plus.
Yep.
Or is it Plus or is it just G410? G410.
The G410.
So what's interesting about this now is back G410 and the G425, I believe they changed this back to in the G430, but the stock or the standard loft with 3-wood was 14.5.
It is.
And that's what this one is. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, I wanted to get a Ping in, but I wanted to get something that was a little bit older, and we see that technology is going to hold up in that. We'll get into some of the new technology as we see it later on. You know, right now we're in December, and we start seeing that stuff probably January-ish to February, and when we get into it, we're going to hear about what they've done. Well, in the changes they've made changes from like this to what's happened. You're talking about the metals they use, or the look that they have, or the weight placement.
Yeah, and this is, you know, Ping is, what I like about Ping is they've stuck with their look on their clubs for the most part. You know, they got this matte finish, got the turbulators there.
Yeah.
So they haven't, and they still to this day haven't really changed much of that. It's still, you know, still textbook Ping. So, all right, G410. So this is a few generations old. I think this was a 20 or 2019 maybe. Definitely noticed that louder sound right away. I kind of left the face open on that one, but
Yeah.
ooh, that did get over there. That was squared up better.
So you didn't leave that one open.
Yeah.
Now, because I grabbed something that had 15 or 14 and a half degrees, keeping in that, this also was a shaft that's at about 42 and a half inches.
It's a little shorter. Yeah, I felt it was shorter.
This is, the others are going to be at 43. So even from a length perspective, I just tried to grab what was really close to it.
Yeah. So that was a low face shot. Launch is very low. Okay.
This was, the Ping G410 was also the first year for Ping we saw what was known as spincicity. And that is kind of consistency and spin blended together in one word.
Yeah.
And what that means is that the face structure, the curvature of the face structure is such that the bottom has more bulge.
Yeah.
And what that does is allow for lower strikes to get higher with more spin, rather than, so that gets them in the air and maybe carries a little bit farther,
Yeah.
rather than having them come off a little bit lower with no spin.
Ooh, I hit that hard. It was just out to the right again. Face angle wide open. Oh, that kind of came back a little bit.
Yeah, good smash. 149. So
Actually, that performed way better than I thought it would.
yeah,
You can see it's kind of an outlier with the swing. My attack angle was down a lot, which is not.
yeah, but the path was almost 7 and the face was 7, so it
Yeah.
basically just went dead straight, given where the club was going.
That was hit hard. Yeah, there's some speed.
We talk about this too in a swing dynamic. The club goes where the ball goes where the club goes. So if the club is moving out to the right at impact, the ball will go to the right at impact, and that starting line is something that you work with, not try to perfect with. So, for instance, you tend to have an inside-out path. That's just what you do with all clubs. So for you, it's how much does it move from the right? And it can start a little bit right, move a little bit more, move a little bit less. But that's one of those things where if you're in a fitting and you're saying, I tend to hit the ball to the right. Well, is it right because the club's going that way, or is it right because the face is going that way?
Yeah.
And so we don't look at generally speaking, we're not going to look at swing dynamics to try to change swing dynamics. You're from the inside, but based on the way that you turn your body and use the club, that's going to happen. So for me, as a fitter, I'm going to look at what can I do with that club that's going to minimize the amount of turn.
Yeah.
Right. Let it start where it normally starts for you, and then do I get it to turn less left, or maybe less right?
I want to point out that smash factor right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Generally speaking, we see those indoor, and we see those when the club face is rotating closed.
This is what happened.
Generally, yeah.
Yep. Ooh, there's another bad one. Hoping it, yeah, that's well, I had one left. That one's quite a ways right. Oh my. So at the ping, I've got.
Well, there's another fairway over there.
Yeah,
so
I could go over there and hit that one. That's fine.
it's all right.
Yeah.
Even if we trim off some of the extremes to that, one of the things that we're looking at is you're seeing carry distance 255 to 65.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a couple of things that happen. Number one, you had more ball speed, but you also had a longer club and you had more club speed. So you see you had 2 miles an hour faster. And so that club head speed translates to ball speed, translates to distance. So in that sense, that's one of the things that we saw, is we saw more distance there.
Yep.
The other thing is we saw less launch. And even though we had maybe a little bit more spin overall as an average, we had less launch because it is a half a degree less. Mm-hmm. So overall, it's almost 1 degree less launch to that. Even with some shots that were out to the right, which normally is a little higher.
Right.
We basically saw 10 yards less, and that got wrapped into the idea of about 2.5 to 3 miles an hour of ball speed.
Yeah, slightly longer shaft. When I was able to connect, I was hitting that one further then because I just had some more speed on the swing.
Yeah.
And then, but it was kind of fun to go back in time because I do remember when these were brand new, and it's to see them. They're still. I mean, clearly there's still some speed, right? I mean, I hit that one with a 151 smash factor.
Yeah.
So clearly there's still some. There's a punch packed with these clubs still. So yeah, it's funny that actually that 151 kind of brought up my smash factor average on those 4 shots there. Yeah.
Oh, and we talk about it from a path perspective, 5 degrees to 5.4, so not a lot of difference in path.
Yeah.
2.7 to 3.2, you were maybe a little bit more open. We had a 7 in here where these are just 2, 3, 4s. So that kind of plays a little bit into it as well.
I'm just not quite as consistent as some of these people with that swing stuff, but it is what it is.
If you were, right?
I wouldn't be here.
Well, you'd still be here. The numbers would be different.
Fair enough.
So,
It has to be a lot more consistent than be here.
You know, and I've said this before too. People will ask in general, you know, you know, what's an easy fitting, what's a hard fitting? Fittings I don't look at as easy versus more difficult. It's the swing will always change. We're never going to hit kind of the same club, the same swing, the same shot ever again, right? It's kind of unique to that. If we can repeat, if we get a chance to do a bit more in terms of the consistency with it, that the consistency is always this number to it.
Yeah.
Is like we saw this. We've seen this with a lot of things when we finally dial them in for you. So dialing them in for you, like any customer as you come in, that's the whole goal. So that when we go out there, if you had 10 shots, do you know, does it do what you want 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times? It's like the consistency is where I drive for that.
All right. So this is the Titleist 917 F2.
Yep. This is still, this club head specifically is still in the bags of touring professionals.
Oh yeah.
Elite level professionals.
Yeah. And it's got this, like, it's almost gray instead of black on the crown.
Yeah.
Also, it seems like it's larger than what I've hit so far. That might not be correct. It's merely just what I think when I look down at it. It's just a little bit bigger, but yeah, it's obviously it's good if people are still using it today on tour, right? I mean, we're talking 8 years or something like that. There's a hit that one good to start.
Yeah. You can get away with that one real quick. It's good.
Surprised, it must be a hit location thing. I'm surprised that didn't turn back over based on
Could have been.
how my swing numbers look there, but
Could have been.
launched higher, maybe a little higher on the face.
Still the same kind of spot.
Yep.
Carry 269 is almost 270 yards.
No, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
clearly there's still that punch in there.
I know as we talk about, it's like, we'll hear customers from time to time ask the question is, do we have the face of the club, does it wear out? And in general, yes, they can wear out. It would take someone that has a lot of ball speed, you know, hitting that face a lot. One of the reasons why it's okay to stay with a fairway wood for a longer period of time is that you aren't going to be using it as often. Now, if you are, and that's, say, for instance, a tee shot, and you're not seeing the height anymore, you're not seeing the carry, or you're not seeing the total distance, or you're seeing, you know, it's starting to spray all over the place in dispersion, that's where you'd want to come in, reevaluate, look at what's out there. The adjustability in the Titleist is what has kind of given it a leading edge. So it's not just the shaft in terms of lie and loft, but it's also the ability to move weight. So that this has a weight port, and in that weight port right now it's a neutral weight, but it could go. We could make it toe weight. We could make it heel weight. That's another advantage. As we go back in time, this is really the advent of the more adjustability.
Yeah.
Okay. There are plenty of other clubs and plenty of other companies that are that way, but now as you look at it on the market, almost all of the companies have elite adjustability
With fairway woods.
with the fairway woods.
Yeah, you're probably, I mean, we're talking about these clubs here. You know, the M6
Yeah.
that we're hitting doesn't really have much on there for adjustability.
No.
So I think, yeah, you're right in that this end of the 2010s is really where, you know, driver adjustability was completely there. We had all, there was movable weights, either the M5 I'm thinking of, or the M3, where like there was like 3 weight ports on the sole, and it was like almost too much for the driver. But the fairway woods didn't really have much. And so now, today, obviously, as you mentioned, you know, the new stuff that's out there is fully adjustable, whether it's hosel or, you know, on the club head somewhere.
Yeah. Another good one. That turns over
No, it's not turning over.
a little bit.
This one isn't turning over. I mean, I feel like because one of those shots, for sure, the face angle was like 2 degrees and it didn't turn over. I'm hitting it hard
yeah,
enough,
there
though.
was. It's been about 4 degrees on average, so it's just that the face is open a little bit more than that. according to TrackMan.
Let me try and square it up here.
Okay.
Hit the screen in a more centered position.
There
we go. Wow, yeah. That might be, in terms of everything you want in a fairway wood with height and everything, that might be the best shot so far.
Yeah, I'm looking at landing angle 38, so that's getting up towards 40, which is really nice. You've got about a 20-yard rollout from carry to total. That's really nice. We kind of just bring these numbers up a little bit. Good launch, good spin, great carry, great total, club speed, smash factor. Your club path's down the line pretty well.
Yeah, square up the face here finally.
Yep. Up through the ball just a little bit.
And with a
really nice.
You know, and again, there's not a best practice or a wrong practice, but I think for me, as I've mentioned to you before, I hit 3-woods or fairway woods off the tee primarily. And I think that's why you're seeing me. My attack angle is either pretty neutral or even maybe up on the ball with these clubs. But that you can totally use these, and they function well if you do hit down on them too. You'll see maybe a little lower initial launch, and with some more spin, it'll still get there. But
yeah, and even like that attack angle is a really interesting one to have a conversation about, because the attack angle is what's measured at the point of contact with that club. So that was already moving up slightly.
Yeah.
Well, if the club's coming from the inside, it almost has to move up to get around your body, to get up and out.
Right.
It can kind of move this way. If it's coming from the outside, it can come down a little bit more.
You really can't go up on the ball as you come from the outside.
You can. No, that's the I was like, that's a unicorn swing.
Yeah, it's rare.
But there again, it's because of the way that your body's allowing that movement to happen. So it's like, all right, someone comes in and says, my attack angle is really steep with this. Well, we're probably not going to change that attack angle. What we want to try to do is change the starting point and the movement on that ball. Mm-hmm. So we might say, okay, well, if it's moving out to the right, can we get it to move less right? For you, it's going to move left. We just don't want it to move too much left. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to top that one, but I'll try once here with this club.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to. A little high on the face. There's that open face angle again, but I had one pretty stellar one with this club.
Well, let's look at it just in general. We've got enough shots on it. It's like, even for that, I'll leave those up, because as we're looking at it from a comparison, I'm looking at this going, it was actually really consistent. I know it's maybe off to the right a little bit.
But like you're talking about a carry distance, right? Plus or minus 4 yards is pretty good.
So we talked a little bit about the indoor versus outdoor fitting. What we're getting here is a really good idea about what the ball's doing. We're not necessarily worried about what's happening with the swing, because when you get outside, it's going to change. But that's one of the reasons we have a 30-day play guarantee. Mm-hmm. So even if you're buying a used club or a new club, you're going to have a chance to get out there and play that. And that's one of the reasons why we see fairway woods they're just like anything else. You're going to need to get out and actually see where the rubber meets the road. Mm-hmm. What does this look like in sunlight? How does it perform with a golf ball off of a tee, off grass? What is its peak height? In here, we don't necessarily have kind of that trajectory that we can see. The TrackMan's telling us what it is, but
yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I will say, I think I was surprised, because I think, a Titleist drivers in the 2000s, kind of this 900 series, they had sort of a perception of being high spin, and they kind of flamed a little bit in that regard. But the fairway woods are awesome, and there's a reason that so many of them are playing. The 915, 917 fairway woods are being played still so much. These things are awesome. I'm actually really impressed with this, for sure. I think all of them are great, but I think this one specifically, 917 or 915 even, you could definitely put one in the bag and you wouldn't lose much from what you might be playing right now if you're playing something newer. Obviously, if you got something really old, you're going to gain quite a bit of performance with this one.
A little bit, yeah. The next one I grabbed is the Rogue ST LS, the low spin. Mm-hmm. And I did it for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to have something that had a little bit of a heavier shaft, and it's kind of, for you in this testing, I'm not going to hand you something that's got a real lightweight flex, that's got like a lot more loft. It's not going to, like, you testing that isn't going to give us as much detail as if I'm keeping something heavier and stiffer, and with the spin numbers, This probably will spin a little bit less. But let's see what happens in something like this as well. Because overall, when you start picking fairways, it's not just ball speed and distance. It's launch, it's spin,
right.
It's curvature. Does it curve too much, not enough?
And this is a very, you mentioned this is kind of a low spin head, so it's a little bit different than the others I've hit.
Yeah.
It's also a very compact head in terms of just the footprint to it compared to the rest. You can definitely see that for sure. I do like on this one, there's the white kind of scoring lines or white,
like on the
grooves.
Titleist.
Yeah. Well, these are fresh too. This is a newer club, so you kind of see them more. But it does help with kind of alignment and setting things up a little bit. All right. Yeah, that's low. It was kind of a toe ball, so I figured it'd be like a knuckleball. I do like the look of the Rogue ST series in general. You don't have the shiny, it's just matte, it's clean. A little bit of that kind of, I don't know, it's gold, but kind of the accent
Framing.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the skirt of the club or the edge, the roundness on it. It's like we see the same thing as we look at, for instance, putters, right? Looking at how it frames the ball, are there alignment features? Does the color make it look some way? Same thing on wedges, more toe, less toe. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff matters. I mean, it's all visual stuff and golfers are picky people. So.
Yeah, I really like that last shot. Actually had some pretty good spin at 3,000, even though it had a little bit lower
launch. Yeah, it was
launch
a
to it.
slightly, I'd say slightly low face.
Yeah.
Is the reason for that. Is this what it felt like? But I mean,
Okay.
I will take that every day. So still able to carry at 265 despite that. So this could be similar.
Yeah, it's about.
Yeah,
it is actually almost identical.
That is actually. Is it the exact same golf shot? Oh,
Pretty
my
much.
gosh.
Yeah.
Look at those look at those total distances between
That's
the three
total.
of them.
Yep, that's really nice. And there's carry too, those two right there. That's good too. I like that.
I think every one has been 286, 287 yards in total with this club.
Yeah,
It might be very similar again.
It does look like it. Yeah, it
Doesn't
does.
turn over too much.
Love
Yeah,
too
a
much.
lot it might turn over.
What's your current setup, Drew?
So what I currently have
Yeah.
in the bag is a G425 LST,
Okay.
which is played at 14 and a half. And as I mentioned to you, and I'll also say again,
Yeah.
primarily a tee club. And actually this year I took a bigger step forward in I'll say it that way, in my course management, where playing courses where I don't need to hit drivers much. So I played an I crossover 3-iron for kind of the 250 shot, and then a 3-wood, which I sort of labeled or tagged as my 275 tee club. So
Right.
if I need, if there's a bunker or a hazard or something out there, 280, I'd take the 3-wood and just knock it out there. So
Okay.
that's what I got right now, and it's I got the Rogue 80X.
Okay.
I'll do a Rogue White, I think it is.
Right, yeah, the Rogue White in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hit one or two more with this.
Actually, it does have a similar look to this club now that I'm thinking about it, my 3-wood. I hit that one good.
Now there's launch and not necessarily losing a lot of spin to it. Oh, you almost hit that 300
I almost got
mark.
a 300. I almost did.
Yeah. Do you want one more to try 300?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I do. While I do that,
Yeah.
question here from Nick. Please help. I bought a TSR2 used from you guys, the Project
Yep.
X 6.5, too soft. Should I just play my driver shaft, Ventus Black, in an 8X, or is the driver's a 6X and I love it, swing a 3-wood at 110 to 112. We've got some speed, clearly.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And he doesn't, thanks for the question, Nick, but it doesn't say if that hazardous 6.5 is heavier or not. But the first thing I would say in that is we're talking about shafts. And shafts present feedback. So the soft might be the shaft itself
Yeah.
in terms of could it be the weight? Could it be where its stiffness is a little bit lighter in one spot or heavier in another spot? That the shaft is really gonna draw a lot of that attention in terms of its feel. So 100% shaft could definitely give you something that feels a little different. It might not be 8X, but one of the things I look at is overall, I tend to try and keep drivers and fairways together if I can, because you've got the same sorts of technologies in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so as if the driver's being built
Blends
on
together.
yeah, if the fairway's being built with the same sort of driver technologies, well then, yeah, let's probably put the same shaft in there and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly worth testing. And that's the beauty of that is that can be an indoor test. So we don't have to go outside and try to hit golf balls and figure out, if we're out playing, like, well, did that one go farther or that one, switching club heads out and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the opportunity to go get fitted or you have an opportunity to try some shafts side by side, that'd be a perfect opportunity to see what happens.
And then also Jesse commented about the Epic Flash Fairway wood, said he can't imagine taking it out of the bag. So that's an example of
Yes.
a fairway wood that's several years old. I remember
Yep.
that one too. Is the same year as the G410.
Yes.
And I think the same year as well as the G6. And so to see someone playing a fairway wood from that long ago and they
Yep.
love it, like it's not a surprise.
Well, and the thing about it is when you get a club in the bag, and let's say for instance you're using it 2, maybe 3 times in a round, maybe you don't use it at all. You're comfortable, you're familiar with it, it does what you're asking on command for the limited times that there you go. For the limited times you might use it, it's an ROI, it's the return on investment.
Yeah.
How much do I want to spend on something that I'm not going to use as much? So that's why I say it's like fairway woods and hybrids tend to stay in the bag a lot longer because they fill that gapping space for a longer period of time with swing changes and just body changes over time. And I would say the same thing. I'm thinking back on some 3 woods. I played a Cobra Amp Cell Tour, which
Yep.
I played that forever. It was just, I loved the way it looked. I had, I'm trying to think, I had a Fujikura in it. I was trying to think of the shaft at the time. Was it an Atmos?
There's an Atmos right there, I think, isn't there? Or no?
Yeah, that was an Atmos. But I had a shaft that just worked well. The balance worked really well. Every single time I hit it, I kind of generally knew what it was going to do. It was a really good club every single time. There's no reason for me if I'm hitting it once or twice, maybe 3 times at most, or sometimes never in a round. There's no reason for me to just
I think that's what
start switching it up.
Jesse's saying. It's,
Yeah.
But the fact that he loves it that much too, maybe he is playing it a lot. He just likes to find spots to hit it.
Yeah, and so one
I've
of
been
the
there
things
before with my G425. There are times where I'm just striping it, feeling good with it, and I'll just walk up to every tee box and use it.
Yeah, I had personally now I have a Titleist, a TSR2 in there, and the thing that changed the most for that was number one, I went to a 15 degree, whereas that Cobra that I was playing was like 14 and a half, maybe 13 and a half. So I could hit it off the fairway and I get run with it, but I never got height with it. Mm-hmm. So now I put a TSR2 and all of a sudden I get more height with it. So it's just in standard and I know exactly what it's going to do every single time.
Yeah.
So I played Sunday afternoon. And when I played Sunday, I was playing with some friends down in Arizona. A lot of shorter holes, 350, 360, 380, 390 type holes. I would hit 3-wood. And I would just hit them really, really nice and high so that they would carry, and I had great distances with them.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily, when you don't have to hit a driver, right, where trouble might come in. And so they had some opportunities to hit 3-wood into some par 5s.
That's why these are important, the fairway woods, and the fairway wood use is evolving. I did get my 300 mark here.
Yeah.
I took a little bit of extra club speed on this one, and you could see I swung a little faster on it.
Yeah, and you got 2 of them right there on that number.
Yeah, I had one right there. I'm trying to, maybe if I can really get up in that green there. But the Rogue ST is fast, though. This is a fast golf club.
It is. It's got the fastest ball speeds up there. Yep.
Yeah.
As we look at it from club speed right here, at 110, that was the fastest club speeds we've seen.
Yeah, and again, those last couple when I was trying to get to 300, I was really going after it, so that definitely inflated it a little bit. But going from 10 to 11 to 10 to 2700 spin, the 410 was a little shorter and it came off a little bit lower to that. Yeah.
But we're still talking about 265s carry, 265 carry, 264 average carry. Same thing here, 88, 288, 290. So in those three, at least in those three specifically, versus just the one in terms of the ping, and that's probably just a little bit of a mismatch, loft and length.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, yeah, but it was cool to show it too, and I think it still is a really good performer. I mean, if we're talking about smash factor, G410 actually led in this, so and had the only one that was 150 as well. So as we start to wrap here, anybody that's still tuning in or watching, if you have any comments or questions like Nick did, you can submit them now. Would be the time. But I'll say this about, just in general, used, like, there's really not been a better time to go for the used side. If that's you as a golfer, you're not trying to spend $600-700 on a new driver, or maybe it's $400 on a Fairway nowadays. With those prices maybe going up, but that's because this stuff is so good that you can get away with spending half the money. On whether it's driver, fairway, whatever, and you're going to get awesome performance.
Well, and think about the types that you want to hit too. Is we had a couple comments about saying the Cleveland Halo, right? They've got a little bit of a difference in terms of what they're addressing. Cleveland's going a little bit lighter weight, bigger. They're trying to do something.
Max forgiveness and stability.
They're trying to do something in the weight category to get the club speeds up, to get the ball speeds up, to get the distances up. Also, as you talk about, someone made a comment, loved their Srixon ZX. Phenomenal, absolutely wonderful fairway woods. The same thing is true. We've got Mizuno. We're kind of leaving off the table. We talked a little bit about Cobra. We didn't hit the Cobra. Am I leaving someone else out of there in general? There's so many good options to it. And the really nice piece of that puzzle is if you're going to get something, you can get something that's still maybe even just 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, and you're getting into these categories that are very affordable, but they're going to last for a long time. My recommendation is always height. I want to see height. So for you, I would still want to see a little bit more, but I think on a tee, you'd be getting a little bit more with these clubs, and that's how you tend to play the 3-wood or the fairway wood for you is off of a tee.
Yeah, it's rare that I hit a 3-wood off the turf.
Right.
With my distance and stuff. But
that would be one of the things that I'm looking at is, so customers coming in, I'm saying, for a 3-wood, if you don't have club head speed at 100 miles an hour, let's say it's at 80, probably like where mine is at like 80 or something like that, you're going to get the velocity, so you're going to get distance. I'm going to need more height so that I get more carry. It's like my ball speed's going to give me my total depending on the environment. So I always look at it this way, is there's a lot less air friction than there is ground friction. And what we see is, people come in and say, I really love my 3-wood, but it's not going as far. Well, it's not carrying as far. You can get it to roll out if it's dry.
That's the reason it's not going as far. Because you're losing the height. On TrackMan, there's a certain way that they calculate the total after it carries, but realistically, the carry is the more important number because that's more predictable when you get out to the golf course. If you play a soaking wet golf course, it's raining out, you're not going to get that carry or that rollout distance here. That my ball, this shot here, this 276-yard shot, it'd go 276 yards if it's raining out. It would stop right there.
Yes.
It's not going to go 300 yards. So that's the stuff that you talk about and think about in fittings. Also important to just make sure we are aware of that with any club.
Well, we talk about this as a dual weapon, right? It's not just something that we're going to hit in terms of just distances. It's also something that we may need for a par 5 or a long par 3, or even just on a really long par 4 as an approach shot. I need to have a control club. Well, it's hard if I'm just built a club and have it in the bag for just pure distance. Then it's going to be hard to then ask it not to go certain distances. And that's one of the reasons why we want to come in and get fit for that. And then take a look at multiple options. There's so many good options. But it's funny how, again, what did all of these clubs do based on 2, 3, 5, 6, 8 years old, right? We have this, they all did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if I go get something brand new right now, there's I don't know how much farther I'm going to hit the ball or more consistent. You're going to get really good stuff out of this. So,
if you've got a fairway that's been sitting around for at least 15 years, maybe even 10 to 15, 20 years, now's the time to upgrade on it. That's a part of the game that you're not going to have to spend a lot of money on the upgrade, but you're going to get a lot of performance benefit out of that upgrade.
And then you're going to want to use it more. You're going to be looking for reasons to use it. So, golfers, subscribe to the channel. We got a ton more content coming, some really exciting stuff here. coming into January. That's going to be a lot of fun for you as well. So stay tuned. We're going to be going live on Thursdays when we can.
Yeah.
Tyler, thank you for joining today and breaking down the stuff and finding the 3 woods as well. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great stuff here, great performance. Go check out the used selection at secondswing.com as well. Thank you again, Tyler.
Keep your grooves clean and stay razor sharp.
At Second Swing, we know it's not you, it's your clubs. That's why we offer over 100,000 new and used golf clubs and a team of experts who help you find the perfect option for both your swing and your budget. Customize your bag with a tour-level fitting. Then trade in your current clubs to save even more on your upgrades. Change your game in store or online at secondswing.com.